I live in Kolkata, and I'm a life member of the Association of Asian Studies. And I work at the Center for Studies in Social Sciences, Calcutta. This institute was established in 1973. Last year, we celebrated our Golden Jubilee. The institute is a pioneering research institute of social sciences in India. I am a political scientist, and at the center, once I moved from Presidency University to the Center for Studies in Social Sciences in 2016 February, I wrote two academic books. One that you have already mentioned, Indian Muslims After Liberalization, which was a long work. I began this work as a fellow at the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla. But even before going to Oxford in 2007, when I was a very junior level project associate at the Program for the Study of Discrimination Exclusion at JNU, I started that work. Recently, I published another book called Political Theory and South Asian Counter-Narratives, which is largely a combination of several unpublished papers that I presented in seminars and conferences, and 4 published papers which I modified those papers and published it. Yes. 2 big projects that I'm working. One is an institutional project called Decolonization, the Disciplines and the University, which is a supranational project generously funded by the Andrew Mellon Foundation. And it's a consortium of several institutes. One is the Ifriqiya Colloquium of Columbia University. From India, the Center for Studies in Social Science, Calcutta was part and is still a part. And then in Kampala, you have the Makerere Institute of Social Research, and then the University of Ghana, particularly the Department of History of the University of Ghana. They are part of this entire group. So my work in this particular project is to look at how the discipline of political science evolved in the universities. And by evolving, I'm particularly looking at the research orientations of Indian political scientists, particularly in the major departments of Pune University in the west, Calcutta University in the east, Osmania in south, and Aligarh in north. And these 4 universities, departments that I choose, because all these 4 departments were established during 1947 to 1949-50. So just when the India got independence and the constitution was in the making, these political science departments were developed. And so I'm quite concentrating on what are the research concerns or the research output of the faculty members, or at least the noted faculty members of these departments. Okay.
Sure.
And by doing so, what I'm getting is that constitutional studies, which was a very new domain in the field of political science, that came up. So although political thought and political theory was a very age-old tradition, but constitutional studies was one. And the second is election studies that came up later. Now, the constitutional studies, by looking at the constitutional studies domain, what I noticed is that even the first 2 university departments of political science, first in Lucknow, 1921, and then Allahabad in 1927, a lot of political scientists who were part of these 2 departments were also doing constitutional studies. So the constitutional studies as a very specialized field that emerged from the 1920s, 30s onwards. Second one, I am writing another book called Political Bengal, Populism in Government and Opposition. And here I'm looking at how the term and the concept of political is used in Bengal, how it gets articulated by commoners, and by commoners, several segments. Muslims have a very different sense of political. Women have a very different sense. Uh, you know, then the the footpath dwellers, they have a very different sense. The peasants, they have a very different sense. So how the term political is getting used and being articulated. Politicians are very different, and by politicians, very different, which is like largely the four big groups, big parties. You have the Trinamool, who is the ruling party. Then you have the BJP, which is the currently the opposition party in the assembly. Then you have the Congress, which was the old ruling party in between 1947 to 67, 77 at least, in Bengal. And then you have the Communist Party of India, Marxist, late left run, but largely the Communist Party of India, Marxist, who ruled the state from 77 to 2011. The second, so Asian studies, I was already a part of. My initial interest right from doctoral thesis, which was a comparative study of a moderate Islamist organization in a Muslim minority context of India and a Muslim majority context of Bangladesh. So it was already there. And then the Indian Muslim after liberalization was also, in a way, majorly focused on India. Political theory and South Asian counter-narratives is also largely India-centric, although the first part of that book was political theory and certain aspects which could be looked from the prism of political theory, like the question of capitalism, the question of public protest, political dissent, the question of a global cinema like Avatar, and the question of justice in the political theory literature. But the part two, if you look at part two of that third book, Political Theory of South Asian Counter-Narratives, is largely India-centric thing, although there are glimpses of South Asian story, particularly the partition debates and what's happening to the partition debate now, and then how it has moved to the CA and RC debates, and the rise of the BJP on the one hand, and the decline of the left on the other in the Indian context. So I was already immersed into Asian studies thing, and in fact, my first book, the doctoral thesis book, The Limits of Islamism, was nominated by the Cambridge University Press for the Bernadette Kohn Book Prize. So I think the publisher thought that it actually suits the Asian studies thing, which I'm fine. So one is that as far as the field work is concerned, as far as data gathering is concerned, I mean data gathering in the qualitative approaches data gathering, that is fine if you're located in India. The disadvantages are is the lack of funds, because public universities are short of funds. No Indian government is willing to give more money to the social sciences and humanities. Sciences, I still understand. Sciences and technology, a lot of funding is still there. One problem is that in India, I think the increasing tendency is that there is a tendency of self-censorship. And that is very much present in the last 8-9 years, particularly after the change of government from UPA to the BJP-led NTN, with BJP as the single largest party getting its own majority. There is at least the fear is that because of the excessive curbs on freedom of speech on various sectors, a lot of academicians are not that bold enough to say, whether in public or even in writing articles, for professional journals, very carefully crafted words that they use. Now, I don't know whether the fear is that deep-seated for all, or it's just a coterie who thinks like that. But there is certainly a sense of self-censorship, which is a result of the overall political climate of the country. That's a major challenge, not only for Asian studies, but I'm just saying that just for any field, for the knowledge system as a whole. So I teach rethinking political theory, which is largely a combination of texts of both the Western political thought and Indian political thought. And I used to teach political theory in presidency as well. So I think this is the course that I'm very much comfortable in. The center, we are now reintroducing what we call the research training program, RTP, because now with the new education policy, the MPhil program is over. And the Center for Studies in Social Sciences was running the RTP program in the 1980s and 90s till 2008. From 2009 onwards, I think the MPhil program started. And now with the new education policy, the MPhil program is gone. So what we will introduce is a 10 months course of research training program, how to do research. And there I will be also teaching the RTP program, and the RTP program, I will be teaching RPT, Rethinking Political Theory. So that's what I will be doing. What I actually miss in the Association of Asian Studies and the newsletters and periodic conferences call that I see is that you have a huge presence of historians and a huge presence of the broad field of cultural studies. But political scientists are very much missing, which I find even in the South Asian conferences as well as the largest Asian conference.
Thank you so much for this interview and your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.